So right now I'm in my final semester of my undergraduate career here at Lake Superior State University. In about a month, I'll be walking across that stage. I'll be accepting my degree, Bachelor of Science in Biology, a minor in Chemistry, and a minor in Human Nutrition. So I did it, I made it. College was a blast, and I really did enjoy my time here at Lake State, more so the later half than the first half. But what I want to talk to you guys about tonight is an interesting observation that I've made over the years. And that observation refers to an interesting phenomenon about how students view higher ed. The title of my talk tonight, I named College, 4 years, and $80,000 for a piece of paper with your name on it. Ironically named that, of course, because I'm not going to stand up here and tell you why college is this big waste of expenditures. But quite the contrary. I want to point out a rather absurd way that I think students approach the true value of a college experience. And I think the title here really encaptures that, because I think all too often college students approach this huge experience with this end goal that the purpose, the reason that we're here is to walk away with that piece of paper, that degree that says, hey, look, I did it, I am qualified, I am capable, I am employable, so hire me. And if we go about college with this mindset that that is the whole reason that we're here, we're going to sell ourselves short and we're going to miss a whole lot of the opportunities that exist among the college experience. So why do college students often approach school this way? Well, it's really, I believe, because we anticipate this final result, this piece of paper, and so we oftentimes decide for ourselves that a lot of the intermediate steps are just hoops that we need to jump through. We don't want to do a lot of the things that we have to do to get our degree. So in our mind, we've already made up our minds and decided, I don't need to take this class, this is pointless for me, I'm never going to use algebra in my life, I'm never going to use calculus in my life. Why are they making me take Com 101? I already know how to talk. None of this isn't relevant, but it's something I need to do. It's something I need to get through just so that I can get that check mark off on my degree audit. And so if we go about our time with this sort of self-fulfilling prophecy that this isn't something that's really important to me, and we sort of just jump through all these hoops, we rob ourselves the opportunity to have any of these classes have any influence on our lives. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make is always anticipating that we know how something's going to affect us, because we really don't. We have no clue how any of these classes are going to affect us. You might think that Com 101 is going to have no influence on your life, or that algebra or calculus or organic chemistry are things that you're never going to use in your entire life. But the truth is you really don't know how those things are going to play out into your life down the line until they do. And so I'm going to use an example in my life where this all became apparent to me, and I realized that I truly wasn't going throughout my college experience in a way that would allow me to seize the full value of a college education. And so about 3 years ago, this was my junior year, because I'm a fifth year right now. There's no shame in that. But my junior year, I was going into organic chemistry. And so I had been warned, basically, since I was in high school, how difficult organic chemistry was going to be. I knew it was this dreaded class that just knocked all kinds of people out of the sciences. I'd been briefed on how this was just going to be the most miserable class I was ever going to take, and how pointless it was, and how it was something I didn't need to do. And so by the time I got there, I had already made it up in my mind that I don't need this class, but I just need to grind through it. I need to get it out of the way. And so I did just that. And my 8-month exposure to organic chemistry basically went like this. I would go to class at 9 a.m. and think, I don't want to be here, but I'll be here. Dr. Mosey's killing us. Nobody could ever possibly remember all this stuff. I'm never going to use any of this. Walk out of class. When it was time to study for exams, open up the book, just, oh God, I don't want to do this. But I'm going to grind away the next 4 hours of my life so I can pack all of this information, this useless information, into my brain so that I can brain dump it onto the exam tomorrow. And I'd go through all of this effort to make sure that I just got through the class and I would hopefully get a good grade. And I did, actually. I ended up passing both semesters. I ended up getting an A in part 1, and I got a B- in part 2, which are pretty awesome grades, actually. If you have ever taken the class, I'm pretty proud of that. And I was proud of that when I walked out. I thought, hey, you know what? Look, I did it. And I skipped my way home. But the sad thing is, I don't know anything about organic chemistry. I went through pretty extreme lengths to make sure that I got the grade that I wanted on my transcript and make sure I got the check mark on my degree audit that said, hey, look, this dude knows how to do organic chemistry, so as far as my transcript is concerned, I know what I'm doing. But why did I go through all of that effort to make it through the class, to get a good grade, and to have nothing else to show for it? So I had to ask myself at that point, and we all need to ask ourselves, how can we change this approach that college students are taking towards their education to guarantee that we actually are understanding and achieving the true value of the college experience? And so what I'll say is, in my time here, in the later half of my time here at Lake State, I've sort of developed an approach to how I think we can do that. And I'm going to call it a two-phase approach. The first half of this, just for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to call it a direct approach to getting more out of your college education. And this direct approach basically just involves removing these negative emotions that we put towards our work, this self-fulfilling prophecy that we don't need to be here and that we just need to get through it. If we want to give ourselves any chance at actually seizing the full value of a college education, we can't keep going about it in the same approach. We need to give our academics a fair chance. And so we can't go about it thinking, I don't need this class. Algebra is never going to influence my life. No, go about it open-mindedly and go about it with engagement so that you learn algebra and you can walk away saying, I don't know if I'll need it, but if I need it, I got it. And it might impact me in ways that I don't understand right now, but I went about it in a way that I opened myself up to the possibility that it might. So the bottom line is, and I'm not going to spend too much more time on this as we approach, but the bottom line is that if we want to get everything we can out of our college experience, we need to give our academics a fair and engaging chance. Phase 2 of my approach is, I guess, the more fun side of it, and I'm going to call this an indirect approach to getting more out of your college education, or a rather exploratory approach to getting more out of your education. And so what this is all about is taking risks. Trying new things, exploring the unknown, getting off the beaten path that is your degree audit, and understanding that a lot of the learning that takes place in higher ed does not necessarily take place in the classroom setting. A lot of times it does take place in the classroom setting that's not necessarily in your major. Explore other classes, try something you've never done before. Join a club that you see has no relevance in your life. Pick up a book that you think is totally pointless. Open up the email that Campus Life sent you that you thought would be just totally pointless. The thing I need to emphasize with this is that we need to understand that you have no possible way of understanding how these opportunities will influence your life. That's something you need to accept. That's something that every student needs to accept, is that when we engage in something new, you don't know how that's going to surface in your life. It might surface in ways that are very obvious immediately. It might not be something that pops up until 15 years down the line. But better to be more capable in every situation in your life than less. I mean, we've all heard it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So engage in more sort of random exploratory efforts while you're in college. That's really the takeaway from this. So I'm going to give you an example of where all of this sort of clicked for me, how I sort of realized that this was the way that college students need to go about it, and that this is how you're going to take everything you need out of your college experience if you want to understand what the true value of a college education is. And actually, before I give you my example, I want to quote a good friend of mine because he totally summarized everything I'm trying to say in like the perfect phrase. So a good buddy of mine, Sean Sear, some of you might know him, he said, "Opportunities present themselves passively every day. It takes a conscious effort to recognize these opportunities and to use them to benefit your lives. Only when you look for the opportunities that lie dormant around us every single day, will we ever understand how those opportunities can benefit our lives. If you never look, if you never consciously and actively go out and look for new opportunities to influence you, you'll never know what they might be able to do for you. So with that being said, I want to give you an example of how this all became apparent to me and how I think I started to understand that this really is the way to achieve the most out of your college experience. So back when I was taking organic chemistry and I realized that this was no way to go about my education if I wanted to get everything I could out of it, I started exploring. I realized I had enough room for 2 more credits on my semester without being charged anymore. So I signed up for piano and I signed up for yoga. 2 classes, 2 realms that I have no prior engagement in, just for the heck of it, see what I can make out of it. I gave both of these opportunities my wholehearted approach. I gave piano 2 full semesters. I never missed a class, I gave it everything I could, and piano just wasn't for me. I realized that it's fine, I can accept it. Piano just didn't stick for me, but I tried it and I gave it everything I had. It just didn't work, that's fine. That's part of the experience. But what I will say is yoga, on the other hand, had nothing short of profound influence on my life. My yoga professor's right here in the front row. She's nothing but smiles right now. I'm going to give her a real big head right now. I will say that with confidence. Yoga had absolute profound influence on my life, and I never would have experienced this if I didn't just explore and try something that I didn't know anything about. And at first I hated yoga. It was weird, it was strange, it was uncomfortable, it hurt me. It took a while, it took a really dedicated effort to make sure that I stuck to it, and I ended up finding things out about myself and benefiting from yoga in ways I never could have possibly predicted. So when I went into yoga, I expected, the same thing anyone would expect going into yoga, that I'll be a little bit more flexible, maybe be able to relax a little bit more, shut the brain down. And also, I'm on the track and field team here at Lake State, and so I'm injured pretty much always. And so I figured this might be a cool way to, maybe alleviate some of those injuries. But what I never could have anticipated was that yoga would eventually be the outlet that would resolve my social anxiety. And so I've never really admitted publicly to many people that I had a very daunting social anxiety. But this is something I've carried with me since I was in middle school. I think if you've known me over the last 7 years, you'd think that's not true. No, I think I just do a really good job of hiding it and being very eccentric, outgoing. But no, there's always been this fear inside me of interpersonal communication. I've always been terrified of public speaking. And of all things, who would have guessed that yoga would be the outlet that would resolve that insecurity of mine and that anxiety, to make me feel comfortable enough to stand up in front of you guys right now and give this TED Talk. I'm not going to say yoga made me any better of a speaker, but at least I can stand up here and feel like comfortable with it. The bottom line, the point I'm trying to make here is not that I'm trying to advertise yoga to everybody, because I can do that. I guarantee I can sell yoga on anyone. Give me 20 minutes, I'll have you sold. But that's not what this is about. The point I'm trying to make is that if you engage in all sorts of things, like yoga ended up being something that clicked for me. I tried a lot of stuff. I became quite the yes man over the last couple of years. This is just one example that I'm using. But by trying all sorts of different avenues and really engaging wholeheartedly, you can experience this sort of benefit that's totally unpredictable and serve a major value on your life. And so one more thing I want to say about yoga is that it did something else for me that was even more profound, I'll say. And that was that yoga gave me an entire new perspective and appreciation for the human body, which combined with my studies in biology and my studies in nutrition and my athletic experience, yoga sort of connected the dots or filled in the blanks that sort of tied all this together. And I had this moment last semester when I was at a yoga conference down in Detroit where suddenly everything started to click. And I realized that my fun, exploratory life has totally intersected with my academic efforts. And it's all kind of come together to this awesome cross-fertilization of all of my passions and my efforts and my engagement, everything just working out for me to find out what it is I'm truly interested in and what I'm truly capable of doing. And feeling this sense of fulfillment is phenomenal. And so I encourage every student to go out, give yourself ample opportunity to explore new realms wholeheartedly and open-minded, and become engaged in your academics. Because if you can make those two worlds come together by the time you walk that stage, well, that right there is worth 4 years of your life and $80,000.